and welcome to NerdTopia. I'm Guillermo. I'm filling in for Fred this week.
What happened to Humberto?
I got over it. I did it 3 times.
Alright, just a warning, we haven't done this 3 friggin' times.
Yeah, we've been experiencing technical difficulties this evening.
Yeah, you don't have to sound so
Anyway,
professional. Our shit's giving out on us. Let's just give us a break. Anyway, today we're talking about Dune. Uh, yeah.
yeah, go ahead. You want to bitch about Duncan Idaho? Go for it.
It's not funny anymore. Fine, I'll do
It
it one more
still kind of is. Bitch about it. One more time.
Alright, why are you gonna name your most powerful character in your series, or whatever the fuck he is, greatest character you have, after a dog? Duncan is a dog's name. And then on the top of that, his last name is Idaho. He's Bitch Boy Idaho. Anyway, go for it.
I would have to refute you on Duncan being a dog's name. Duncan MacLeod was a great swordsman.
Yeah, where's he at right now?
I think he's ruling the world.
I think he's dead.
In his universe. No, in his universe, he's ruling the world. He won it all. Anyway, of course, he killed most of his friends along the way.
Yeah, so look what happened
to him. But anyway, Duncan, since you will never read all the books, I'll go ahead and spoil it for you. Anyone else that hasn't. Okay, so Duncan dies off early in the first book and in the movie, and they actually extended it and they changed that part of where and how he dies in the new movie. In the original, back in the 80s?
Doesn't matter.
Had Captain Picard and all them in it. They actually did that part right, but Gurney Halleck, I thought they messed him up. Josh Brolin, I love Josh Brolin. I'm not really an MCU fan, but he was great as Thanos. But
what about Cable?
Everything else he's done, Cable was cool. I liked Cable.
What about that dude from the Goonies that he played?
Yeah, I liked him in that too. I grew up with the Goonies. It's not my favorite movie like my little brother, but
I've never watched it.
It's still Johnny's favorite movie. It's a great movie, and it's got a lot of actors that you've watched now, like the Lord of the Rings.
Well, wait.
Samwise. No, Samwise was in it.
Anyway, let's not get off on a tangent.
Let's continue on. Okay, now we're on the Goonies. Anyway, the character Josh Brolin plays is Gurney Halleck, who actually survives. And
he's the only big name actor to make it out of this movie alive. Unless you want to count Zendaya.
Zendaya, yeah, but see, that's another thing they fucked up. There weren't any black people in Dune, and I'm assuming they didn't ever come out and say it, but I'm assuming Dr. Keynes is her mother, which is how they explain her being black. But in the original story, Dr. Keynes is a white dude. So they changed not only her gender, but her race as well. And I got big problems with that all the way around. I mean, if you want to put black people in the movie, hey, I'm fine with that. Jason Momoa is what, Hawaiian, Samoan, or some shit. I don't care about race. But you can't change something just to make a character fit. There's got to be a reason behind it, and you can't change something that's an integral part of the story. I don't think that just bugged me on a bunch of levels. But
I think they got Zendaya to do it because she's a very good actress. They just went, who's gonna care?
I don't know, she's a great actress, but she's pretty and she's young and she's the hot thing right now. So that's why they got her to do it.
She was pretty good in Spider-Man, and I heard that Euphoria, she's been doing some really good stuff with that. I myself have not watched Euphoria.
And Yeah, I've only watched one or two of the Spider-Man, and it's not like she's in a lot of it. I mean, it's mostly about Spider-Man.
The last two, she's in quite a bit.
Uh,
Actually, the last one, she was in a very good bit of it.
well, I didn't watch it.
Apart from the other three. Anyway, we're tangent. Dune.
Yeah.
Start.
Anyway, Dune. Okay, so it starts, and shit, right off the bat, it fucks me up. Kind of piss. Anyway, let me get to it. Okay, so you start off, you're on Paul's world of Caladan, and that's where he grows up on this water world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And damn, I actually want to tell about the first Atreides, but I'm not going to do it. That's too far. Anyway, um, so he starts out on this water world. He's from House Atreides in this future plan. I think this is important, Alex. Let me get off on a tangent for a minute because it really sets up the whole thing.
God damn it.
And I explained a lot that you probably didn't understand. If you notice, when they go from planet to planet, it'll say like House Harkonnen, Getty Prime, home world.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the Harkonnens. And I didn't like the way they pronounced Harkonnen in there. They called them the Harkonnens. But fuck that. They're the Harkonnens. And
Says who?
The dude who wrote the book.
I heard you start. I heard that R in there.
Well, I was going to say no. I was going to say it properly because I was actually thinking about it. But anyway, he's the one that let him do the movie. So I'm assuming they got pronunciation from him. Anyway,
well,
let
that's
me move on.
big.
Okay, don't stop me on this. Come on, I'm in the middle of a rant, and you're going to stop me on a stupid technicality? Really?
Yes, because you made it seem like a big deal. Anyway, continue your rant.
Frustrating the hell out of me.
It was important.
Anyway, so the future world here is set up in a way where there's like the central government is called the Landsrad, and it's consisted of these major and minor, what they call major and minor houses, and the Atreides or House Atreides from planet Caladan, and they can own more than one planet and stuff, but it'll be like when they say planet Caladan or whatever, that's their home world. And the Harkonnens is Getty Prime. The Emperor is on Carino, I think.
Wait, hey, can I stop you real quick?
Sure.
So them owning more than one planet, right? Is that kind of like how countries, let's use America as an example. We have the continental U.S., but we also technically have Hawaii and Alaska. Is it kind of similar to that? They're still the U.S., but like they're not connected.
It's more like it. I don't think that's a good way of describing it. It's more like me having a house here in Michigan and having one in Alabama and having one in Texas. I can own more than one house. They can own more than one planet.
Well, I mean, you could just keep bouncing between them.
My main residence is here in Michigan. Do what?
I mean, you could just keep taking all your shit with you to each house, so like then you don't have the main residence. Stupid technicality. Let's just keep going.
Yeah. Anyway. And then Salusa Secundus, which is the former home world of the ruling planet, the Emperor, and it got nuked a long time ago, and that's where they trained the Sardaukar, which are the Emperor's troops. All this is important to the story. Okay, so anyway, the Harkonnens were in charge of Dune, which is Arrakis. It's planet Arrakis, but they call it Dune, like a sea dune. Anyway, the Harkonnens control Arrakis. Arrakis has the spice, which is the most valuable commodity in the universe, and fucking Star Wars ripped off one of the million things they ripped off from Dune. But
Star Wars uses that as
I don't really
drug.
want to rant on that part. Yeah, well, it's a drug in this one too. It's a life extension. People who take it live 4 or 5 times longer. They can live 3, 4, 500 years old. They don't really get sick. people who take who it becomes a major part of their diet. That's the ones it affects the most, and it also changes their eyes to where they get the real blue eyes.
Oh, okay.
Not like just changing the color, but where even the white is blue.
Yeah,
And it's
where it's
called
completely
EBAD
blue.
or something. Right. And like shines, and the first maybe the special effects were bad, in the 80s. So it,
Yeah.
it made it look like they had blue light shining out of their eyes, which isn't what it was supposed to be. It was just supposed to be that their eyes were blue all the way through.
Kind of
But
like what they did in
anyway,
this movie.
okay. Yeah. But see, the spice is also what controls space travel. They turn the spice into a gas and take humans that seem to have an affinity for it, that can take large amounts, like a fucking drug addict. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's somebody that has a high tolerance for it, right?
Yeah.
And they put them in a room and they just pump in the spice gas and it mutates them literally, because it permeates every cell of their body and it changes them. And they morph into these what we would think of as like monstrosities, but it gives them prescience, where they get to see into the future. And what this does is it allows them the highliners, which are what how they move from space to space. There was engines that were built in the ancient times that like it allows for instantaneous travel from one place to another. But the problem with that is, you could come out inside of a planet or a star or anywhere, right? Because you don't know where you're going or what's going to be there when you get there. So, in order to safely do it, they use what these navigators to look into the future and the possible futures is what it is. And it allows them to safely travel through space. Okay, that's why spice is the most valuable commodity in the universe. That's why the Harkonnens didn't want to give it up, but there was a whole plot against the Atreides because Leto Atreides was very popular. He came to power early because his dad got killed, and he was real popular among the Landrad, like our Congress or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
their ruling body. And the Emperor wanted to get rid of him. The Harkonnens and the Atreides have a blood feud that goes back to the beginning of their houses. I ain't even going to get into that. Anyway, but they hate each other. They always have. They've been at war with each other. It's called Kana. It's like a personal vendetta type thing, house against house. And the Harkonnens are in control of Arrakis, and the Emperor orders them out and the control to shift to the Atreides. But really, the Harkonnens and the Emperor are plotting together to overthrow the Atreides and to get rid of them, to kill them all out. So that's really the whole setup for Dune. But then you have the actual movie, that's just what's going on in it. But I mean, you have all this other stuff that's inside of it while it's going on. So from the beginning, you have Paul, right? Okay, his dad's this Duke Leto. His mother is been a Jesuit. They call them witches. Basically, they're like weird nuns that are excellent fighters. They uh, can control their bodies in ways that we can't even dream up, like down to the cellular level. They can store like diseases inside of them and like bring back later on. That's what's wrong with the Baron Harkonnen. Uh, in the movie, you see him taking baths in oil and all this stuff, and you see him floating around because he's real fat. Well, he's got a disease. He raped one of the Bene Gesserits, and she released. He made her where she couldn't move, but she still had control of her body. So she gives him this disease that's a wasting disease. He still lives, but his body's just wasting away. She wanted to punish him. Um, and it's actually the one that's at the beginning of the movie, which is the whole scene I've been trying to get to, and I still haven't got there because I've had so many other stuff that I thought was pertinent to it to explain. So anyway, Paul mother is she trains him in their ways, and The whole point of the well, not the whole point, but one of the many things that the Bene Gesserit are doing is they're controlling bloodlines. They have breeding programs in place, and it's all designed to get to the Kwisatz Haderach, which is a lot of what happens in the story. Okay, the Kwisatz Haderach, uh, Jessica, Paul's mother, was supposed to get pregnant by Leto with a girl. That girl was supposed to mate with the Harkonnen's nephew to have a boy, and that boy was supposed to be the Kwisatz Haderach. Well, Leto had a lover before her, and they had a son, and the son and uh, his friend got killed in the, or well, the friend didn't get killed. He kind of turned into a cyborg. But anyway, um, his son got killed in it. So Jessica wanted to give him a son, and that's what she did. And it turns out Paul's the Kwisatz Haderach, but it's really his son that the whole story takes place around. And the first movie doesn't even get into that. Leto the second is he becomes the emperor tyrant. But anyway, uh, so uh, it starts out, Paul and Gurney are fighting. They have their little scene and blah blah blah, and it moves on. But then Paul's mother comes and gets him, and she takes him to her teacher, and that's actually the woman that I mentioned a minute ago that gave the disease to Baron Harkonnen. I'm not going to try to pronounce her name. It's like Maha Red or something. Uh, but she sticks the needle to Paul's throat and tests him. And I didn't like it in this one. The Gom Jabbar is what it's called, and in the original movie they put this like thimble looking thing with a needle on it, and in this one, this old lady's holding a looks like a dab tool. It looks like my dab tool, but pointy on the end. I don't know. But and then her hand's shaking, and he keeps turning his neck. I mean, if she really had a poison thing to his neck, it'd have been a dead fucker. But anyway, it's to test him, and she tells him it's to see if he's human as opposed to animal. But she was really going to kill him. She knew that his mother had been training him, and she knew all about the breeding program. She was uh, actually in charge of it. So or whatever. But that whole thing, that like I said, that thing bothered me from the beginning. And then we move along, and they get to Arrakis, and it's obvious from the beginning that the Harkonnen set them up to fail. There was a lot of scenes about that. Um, what was the other characters in it that you liked?
I don't even know. They were all really boring.
Well, I mean, the actors, I should have said. We
Actors?
talked about Jason Momoa and Josh Brolin and
There's
Zendaya.
Dave Bautista, Oscar Isaac.
Uh, Dave Batista, he plays the Baron Harkonnen's nephew. They call him, his name's Rabin, which is, he's the Baron's nephew, and that name is their last name, the other ones, and it's actually one of the other worlds that the Harkonnens on. It's a fur. They call them fur whales, and they harvest the whales, and it's like a really nice fur or whatever, for like fur coats or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, he's like a terror. He just likes killing. He's sadistic as fuck. I hated that they got Dave Batista playing because I kind of like Batista. Um, and he's just a really bad character.
No upside to that
There's
character.
not a single good thing, none at all, Alex. I don't know why he's playing him. They should have got some nobody, that was a bodybuilder or something to play him because this dude does nothing but hurt, kill, and you know he's stupid. He's like real dim-witted. I can't see why Batista would play him. I don't know. at
He
all.
said doesn't know who
I mean,
the
it's not
fuck
like
he
he's a great
is.
actor. Well, it's not like he's a great actor or anything, but I mean, he's kind of funny in Guardians of the Galaxy.
He's pretty good.
Uh, yeah, I'm not saying he's a terrible actor. I'm just saying he's a wrestler, and I don't have anything against wrestlers. I like wrestlers. I don't watch it anymore, but I still like them. Yeah, well, every now and then I catch myself doing it, but it's for about 5 minutes. Anyway, but
Once they get
yeah,
to
I
the high
mean,
spots.
okay, so we'll go back to where I was at.
Or we can move on. That'd be
So they get
nice.
there, the planet trains over, and then the Baron's forces led by Rabin. And see, this was another thing that bothered me too. Okay, they come in at the front, head on against the Atreides, and the Atreides are holding their own. They're supposed to have some of the baddest warriors in the galaxy, and then all of a sudden, the Sardaukar repel down behind them, and they just all like fall down dead. You know, uh, it was so stupid. It was a shitty battle scene. Uh, anyway, moving along. So they take over. Paul and his mother get the guy who actually set him up, Dr. Yui, which I didn't like the guy that played him in this one either, but I ain't gonna touch that. He actually took the ducal ring from Leto and got a frem kit and put it in the because somehow or another he knew which ornithopter they were going to be off in, and knew that Paul and Jessica would get loose and whatever. But so they head out into the desert. Okay, when they get there, uh, in the original story, they crash, they land, and then they make for the weather station that they in, and the worm chases them just like the movie happened. But when they get there, there was nobody there in the original story and movie. They take shelter there, and then they later find the Fremen. Okay, here they find the Fremen right off in Duncan, Idaho. Well, Duncan's already dead at this point. In the book, uh, he had his last stand with the solder car, and he takes out a shit ton of them, and they're the baddest fuckers in the galaxy. But as I said earlier, Duncan Idaho is the best warrior. He's what they call a sword master of Janaz.
Bitch boy
And
potato.
that was all he ever, huh?
Bitch boy
Do
potato.
what? Bitch boy potato. I
Bitch
got
boy
you.
potato.
Potato boy. But anyway, they changed it. Like I said, they changed around. Idaho meets them here, and instead of at the weather station, along with Dr. Keynes, the black woman who is a woman. The woman thing just throws me, because Channy, the character played by Zendaya, is was the daughter of that guy, and that thing just messes with me. Anyway,
Now she's the daughter of that girl.
But so they don't actually say that yet. I don't know if they haven't said that. But anyway, but I'm assuming, just based on skin color, which probably shouldn't do. But anyway,
Well, if it's supposed to
moving
be like
on.
that in the book and they look similar, I mean, it's safe to say.
Yeah, it's not such a big deal that it made her mother instead of her father, but I don't know. It's the way they did it, how they did it, and I don't know. They changed the characters too much in it. But anyway,
but does it affect their story in the story? Do they have to be Caucasian, and does that person have to be a guy?
The Caucasian, well, yeah. Can't be the only black person in the universe.
That's the only black person
there's no other
that you see.
No other black people on Dune.
That you know of.
I've read every single book about it, Alex. There's no black people there on Dune. Trust me. Anyway,
Well, in
moving
their
along.
universe, there is.
I don't want to get on the race thing. I'm not a racist. Not really. I mean, I, I don't like racism, but to change something like that in a book, it just it felt wrong to me. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to touch it again.
Mhm.
Anyway, uh, so this is where Duncan has at the weather station or whatever. This is where Duncan has his last stand with the solder car, and he ends up taking out. I think I counted 10 or 11. I think it was 11 that I counted, and it should have been like twice that many. And that's what's supposed to be so impressive about it. That's the only reason the Fremen took him in at all is because they were impressed with Duncan's fighting prowess. He's the toughest person they ever met. And that's what they prized was strength and fighting. And this is where they were going to accept. Uh, I can't remember how the story said it. They were going to accept. They were going to accept Paul's mother, but they were just going to let Paul die in the desert or take his water. Whatever.
Okay.
Because they didn't see any use for him. They saw him as a weak off-worlder. His mother was a Bene Gesserit, so she had value. But then Paul kills uh, Janice in the duel, and they say that he's a hell of a warrior. Not only was he trained by Duncan Idaho, he
Donkey,
also was trained by Gurney Halleck.
donkey,
Huh? He
donkey.
was. Let me finish, please. And then he was trained by his mother, the Bene Gesserit, and uh, the warrior Mentat, Topher Howard. So this guy had the four best fighters in the galaxy training him. So obviously Paul could fight. Um, so he kills that guy. He gets accepted in, and they move along, and through this, he meets Zendaya, which he'd already had visions of. He was dreaming about her on Kaladin, and then the first time he gets exposed, when him and his mom get to the desert, he gets an overdose of spice. Not an overdose, but he gets a large. Uh,
Consumption.
yeah, there you go. I was trying to think of the right word because it was more in a dust form.
Yeah.
Like I was describing how the navigators got it in a gas form. Well, his was from the desert wind blowing it around and forcing it into his lungs and stuff. And he consumed too much of it. But they also use it. They collect it. And they use it in their food, in their drinks, everything. It's a part of the life of the people of Arrakis. But um, he sees her again. The he is the first Kwisatz Haderach that the Bene Gesserit had been waiting on and trying to breed. And what it does is basically allows him to see all the future. He doesn't mutate like the navigators, and he's able to see all the possibilities of the future. Um, he's in a position to become emperor of the galaxy, right? Um, he's actually cousins to the Carino emperors, and uh, what ends up happening? Well, no, we got to save this for the second one. I'm going to try to finish up the first one. Okay, so in the first movie, it's they're doing this in a two-part, and it's for the first book, and they only get as far as well, do you remember where it ended?
It ended with I don't remember any of these names, but that one girl like killing people with the sandworm, right? Where she like banged on the ground and fell.
Oh, that was Zendaya's mom, the planetologist,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ardasheen.
yeah. I remember she had the blue eyes. I was trying to think.
Yeah. Well, see, she in the story, her father is tasked by the Carino Emperor to be the planetologist for Arrakis and to discover, what makes it and see if they can't make other planets like Arrakis to get more spice,
Yeah.
and Pardot Kings was the father. Liet Kings is the son, and he actually grew up among the Freemen. Pardot was the first person to ever get adopted by the Fremen, and they basically they almost deify him, okay, because of his vision for the planet. He's a planetologist and he understands world. He grew up. Well, he spent a lot of years on the nuclear attacked world of Seleucus Secundus. I mean, this guy was a survivor. You know,
Continue with the story.
uh, do what?
Continue with the story.
Kinda.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Well,
continue with the story.
let me finish this because it's actually interesting. Well, if you're nerdy like me, it's interesting. uh, he was going to set in motion the things to change the planet of Dune from a desert to a oasis. Okay, this comes in to play later on in the story because he set it up already. Set it in motion. Okay, so whatever he uttered to the Fremen while he was alive became reality. He asked, he wanted to know how many of them there were. So they instantly, they had no idea of how many people were in each sitch, which is where they lived. And so they started doing a self census, you know. But it didn't matter what it was because they saw how his vision for Dune and they wanted it to be that, and so that's how Lit was so important. His father made sure that he became the next planetologist, and that it was like a title that passed on. And the Fremen adopted him, and was like the leader of all of them. And so Lit had a special place among them. Uh, and that's what makes Zendaya's character, Chani, so important, is because she's the granddaughter of Pardot and the son of Lit and Fremen to boot. You know, so all this comes into play with the story because they're a major part of it. Chani is uh, Chani and Paul. Paul was raised that you only marry for political power. You don't marry for love. So his mom and dad weren't married. She was his consort, and Chaney becomes the same thing. That's jumping too far ahead. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I did get off on a bad tangent there.
Mm-hmm.
I should have saved that for the next one because I could have kept going and tied it in, and it makes it in. But yeah, I got off. Tangent. We know.
Yeah.
Anyway, story. Okay, so it ends with actually with the death of Leah Keynes, Dr. Keynes or Kynes, however you want to pronounce it. She was saving them, and her and the others that were chasing them, get eaten by the sandworm, which yeah, I was okay with that. That wasn't bad. Because Leah Keynes does die off like that, pretty much. So I mean, and overall, they didn't do a bad job. The special effects were pretty good. They didn't try to go overboard with the worms, which is a hard part of the story. For like in the first movie, it looked so cheesy when they
Oh, it's
were
so bad.
riding the worms and stuff. You saw it
I watched a clip to prepare it.
first.
My fucking god.
Yes, the effects were,
Swerves were
and
so bad.
that's why the people hated the movie so bad, and stuff. It's because the effects were bad and it looked so cheesy, And I've always said it's not a story that you can put on film and make it good. When you read it, it's more believable and not so. Well, you don't have that visual representation that's showing you, how silly it is. It's easier to get into it and to believe it and to go along with it. They may be just a little bit too big, you know. because they're gigantic, 200 meters long, 450 feet, and there's ones that were bigger, but that was like, an average size. That's just too big. And I get it. But as I said, when you're reading it as a book, it doesn't come across as bad. As someone that's read it and watched them, all the movies, it it just doesn't come off visual or cinematographically, maybe. The cinematography, it's not something that you can do that looks right. And that may be why, I got HBO Max just to watch it, and then it wasn't on there, and I was kind of disappointed. And then they brought it back, and I saw it, and I was like, ooh, and then I was like, nah, and I didn't watch it, just because I knew I would be disappointed and or pissed off or whatever. So I had to get you to do the podcast on it in order to make myself watch it, basically.
Did you
I think
enjoy
I'm
it?
done ranting. Yes, I did.
Okay,
I
so
did enjoy it.
do you think this is the best they could do with that story?
No,
Film wise. No?
no. But I think that about a movie. I don't know how people make movies and put in cheesy stuff, stupid things that just don't work. How do they not see this in editing? You know, uh,
Because
I'm not even a movie. I'm not a director. I could do a better job, and I know I could.
better job
Well,
for
I think
you,
I
but
could.
they do the silly things because a lot of people enjoy those things. That's why they do
No,
it because that's playing to the majority instead of the
I'm not
minority.
talking about. I don't really mean silly like that. I mean like shit doesn't make any sense. Things where the dialogue is just horrendous. Well, why make a crappy movie like that when you could do a better one? Are the writers in Hollywood that bad? Can they not
Budget.
find a decent writer, that maybe he's done a few books or something and actually has some, writing capability instead of these guys that write all this cheesy ass dialogue
Do you know how
for
many movies are
people?
being
I
made?
don't get
The
it.
fact that every movie has writers is frankly impressive.
Well, it's got to have writers. Without writers, you don't have a movie.
They're having so many movies being made that like they're not gonna have good writers anymore. All the good writers are tied up with these
Alex,
crappy writers.
this isn't a recent phenomenon. This goes back all the way to the beginning of movies. From the very first cheesy ass black and white silent movie to
That's
whatever
what
came
people
out
like though.
yesterday.
Don't lie on that one. That's what
Uh,
people liked was that cheesy shit back then.
Maybe that's why I don't watch TV often.
Because if you watch,
Uh,
if you just stop trying to nitpick and just watch something, you can enjoy it
oh, like you
sometimes.
don't nitpick them? Like you don't nitpick them?
I do, but
You're the
like,
nitpickingest motherfucker I ever met. Oh, I mean, I love you. I'm sorry.
what the fuck? I was just trying to finish a point. Fuck you for that.
Go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
if you go
I'm
into something
sorry.
not trying to
But
nitpick.
tell me you don't pick shit apart.
Oh, sometimes, but not every time.
Seriously, you're
But
telling me to fuck off for that? Okay,
I
not
wasn't
every
just meaning
time,
you.
not every time.
I wasn't meaning you. I was meaning in general. If you just watch something, wanting to enjoy it, just don't nitpick it. Just watch it and enjoy what's there, and you end up enjoying it a lot more. Something came
Well,
up with
that's the only way I'm sorry, go ahead.
that's everyone's thing with Spider-Man 3. Everyone hated Sam Raimi for Spider-Man 3 because Peter Parker did a bunch of cringy shit. That was the fucking point.
What did he do?
Oh, he did all that dancing and he wore those weird looking clothes with the weird slicked hair and everyone ranted at Sam Raimi forever. He's like, that's stupid. That was the point. His point was to make Peter look stupid because that's what he thought Peter would have thought had been cool. That you miss things when you only think about it from your perspective. If you think about it from other people's perspective, you can see what they meant and you can enjoy it. That's where all that comes in.
I don't disagree with you one bit, but god damn, you sound like your mother.
Thanks.
Sorry, just observation.
Thanks. But that was one thing I had with Spider-Man 3. Personally, I don't enjoy Spider-Man 3. But I understood what he was getting at with the cringy ass shit. He was doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I can get that. I mean, and for me to watch some of the old cheesy movies I do, I have to suspend any kind of nitpicking or anything and just enjoy it for what it is. But I just had the thought the other day. I was watching something and God, why would they even put that in there? What made them think that was a good idea was all I could think. And so I turned my TV on.
That's
That that's what I do. That's what I've always done. I don't watch TV. I don't like it. It just pisses me off. Uh, I don't know. You don't want me to rant on TV because I'll do that for another hour.
did we get through Dune completely? A bunch of people are
Yeah,
dead.
we got through.
Oscar Isaac's dead.
Okay, what there was things I didn't get. There was one thing I didn't get to tell you that I would like to, and it you won't ever see it in the next movie because the next movie is going to end the first book. Well, in the second one, when Paul's son comes to power, um, there's a race in the galaxy called the Bene Lilacs, and they're like genetic whizzes, you know, and they like to make clones, and they were trying to impress Leto. They were trying to get over on him because they actually when they create these things, they can like put shit in their heads to like make them assassinate somebody or you know shit that doesn't kick in till years later. So basically, they were trying to kill the emperor, and they make a they call them golas. They make a gola of Duncan Idaho, um, and they present it to him, and of course it tries to kill him, and he kills the gola, and then that orders another one, um, and this goes on for 10,000 years. Leto converts himself into a worm, one of the worms. You feel me? You what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So it rules for 10,000 years, right? Over 10,000, really. Um, but he becomes known as Leto the Tyrant or whatever. But through all of that, he has a standing order for a Duncan Idaho, right? And um, the Duncans, of course, don't remember the other ones. And uh, but years and years and years later, um, the last Duncan Idaho, he actually ends the story, uh, and because uh, Frank Herbert ended the story in book six his way, and had plans to do future books. He had notes and drafts and stuff in a safe deposit box for some reason that his son uh, found years later, Brian Herbert, and him and sci-fi writer Kevin J. Anderson co-wrote more book, like twice as many book, more than twice as many books as their his father ever wrote. And I thought they did a great job with them. And but they were going off of Frank Herbert's notes and stuff. And so you know, 10, 11,000 years go by or whatever, and all those incarnations of Duncan Idaho culminate into one, and he becomes the ultimate Kwisatz Haderach, and he uh, through I can't remember what it is, something other. It forced all the memories from every one of those lives to for him to remember them because it was trapped in his DNA or whatever that they kept using over and over to recreate him. And so those memories kept getting passed on and on and on and on. And so it made him the ultimate warrior, and he goes and kills the machines that actually was behind all the crap to begin with. But anyway, that's a whole nother story, and I'm about burned out of talking. But yeah, Duncan Idaho is actually the most important person in the story.
Even
Was
though they
my
kill him
point.
off in the first little bit.
Even though they kill him off in the first little bit, but because Lita loved him and Paul loved him, because I think they actually present him to Paul first, to Gola, because somehow or another his body gets saved and the Bene Lilacs wind up with it, and they keep making Golas of him over and over and over for eons, and yeah, he becomes the most important person in the universe.
Great.
Yeah, really, the story's about Duncan Idaho.
Didn't seem like that. I don't think this story's
It
about Duncan,
it
Idaho.
does not. It's not. The first one isn't about Duncan. It's about Paul. The second one's about Leto, and actually the second, third, fourth, and fifth and sixth ones are about Leto, but Duncan's in them all. And then where I guess Frank Herbert was going, was the same place his son and Kevin J. Anderson went, but it takes over from there, and it just is mind blowing. And
All
actually,
right.
Frank Herbert got it, huh?
All right. Well, you got to wrap
Do
it up.
what?
We got to wrap it up.
Oh, yeah, okay, okay. Anyway, so overall, the movie's not bad. They did a pretty good job with it. They had a lot of good actors in it. They changed things that I didn't like, that I definitely didn't agree with, as my rant, showed. But overall, yeah, I thought they did a pretty good job with the movie, and I'll watch the second one when it comes out.
Great.
B
Okay.
B minus.
Oh, we're great. You didn't say what we. You just said a letter. The fuck does that mean?
Well, we've been grading them, so I thought I'd throw it out there.
Great. It's mid for me. It was really boring. If it wouldn't have had a bunch of
I can
actors I liked, I
understand that.
probably wouldn't even finish it. I probably would have got fucking sick of it. But
Well, they're really setting it up for the second one. The second one should have a lot more action and story to it.
I like Zendaya.
This
I
one was
like Jason
more
Momoa.
story building.
I like Jason
Who's
Momoa.
dead?
I like Zendaya. I like Dave Bautista. I like Oscar Isaac. They're all fucking dead, so I don't care about this series anymore.
Is Oscar Isaac the one that played Baron Harkonnen?
The dad. I don't remember the name. I just remember he was Paul's dad.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's good. But the guy who plays Baron Harkonnen is whatever Skarsgård,
Bill
the dude
Skarsgård.
from Thor, and the guy from
Thor?
Thor and the MCU movies, the scientist with Jane, the older guy that gets naked at Stonehenge.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. Fuck, I
He
can't remember his
plays
name.
Baron Harkonnen.
Oh, okay.
He's the one that plays the Baron. Yeah.
So Eric Selvig is.
I could
Baron.
hear his Eric Selvig is Baron Harkonnen.
Oh.
I said Skarsgård. I was thinking Selvig. I knew it was something started with an S.
I was confused. I heard Skarsgård went Bill.
He's shaved bald headed and he's wearing a fat suit.
Yeah, I couldn't
he's
tell.
He's usually covered in oil and stuff, but I could hear his voice and I was like, holy shit, I know that guy. Who is that? And he's talking real slow and deeper. And, and he was more animated in the MCU movies. And I had to look it up. I did. Because I couldn't place it. I was like, I know that voice. I know it. I know it. I know it. And then I looked it up. And as soon as his picture popped, I was like, oh, hell yeah, that's him. Because, anyway, yeah.
No more. I'm done with Dune.
Okay. Okay, we're done with Dune.
Done with Dune.
Next week, we are discussing. Well, what's the topic for next week?
Yes.
Rick and Morty.
We can.
Okay. And then The Hobbit will be after that. The conclusion of The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies.
Yep. Then I finally get a break from you.
And then you'll be living with me full time, and you won't ever get a fucking break from me. Ha ha.
Is it too late to get a death certificate?
Anyway, well, we went the whole episode without mentioning your brother, so
We went the
shout
whole
out
episode
to
without me really
Andrew and
talking.
kind of funny. That's because I didn't shut up. But anyway,
I noticed.
while we're talking about Andrew, I would like to mention I don't usually plug myself because I don't have anything to talk about. But Andrew and I are starting up a new podcast called History Class Podcast, and it should be very interesting. We've got an idea of how it's going to start out and everything, and what we're going to do. We don't know when we don't have a start date for the first episode yet, but hopefully soon. Should be real soon. Anyway, Alex, would you like to mention your things?
All right. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at NerdCulture22. You can follow me on Twitch at NerdCulture2. Follow me on YouTube at NerdCulture. And we have a Instagram for our podcast. It's the NerdTopia podcast.
Woohoo!
Yay. I got so much editing to do because you talked for an hour.
I told you I was. I love Dune.
If there's any editors who are wanting to get hired, next time he does Dune, I will hire literally anybody. You can co-host with him that day.
Well,
you can edit it.
The second movie hasn't come out yet, so you got a while.
Yeah, when that second movie comes out, I'm just gonna set my headphones down. I'm gonna go to dinner or something.
No, I'll just talk to myself.
I'll come back and you'll still be halfway through the movie.
Maybe quarter, half, somewhere.
Give detailed backgrounds for
until
every
next
character.
week.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you all the next one.
Hey, I'm rolling clean off a beam in the drop. Voices in my head, they telling me to stop. Hey, got 20 G's for the keys to the. What do you do when Captain turn your lover to a op? Hey, I'm rolling clean off a beam in the drop. Voices in my head, they telling me to stop.